Let's have a little chat about codependency. Codependency is when we're escaping our own experience in life to live through somebody else's experience. I want to give some basic examples of how this happens that I don't think we talk enough about in this culture. How do we engage with our friendships? When I think back to myself as a little child, I wanted to do what everybody else wanted to do. I didn't want to be the one to play the video games. I wanted to watch somebody else play the video games. I didn't want to be the one to decide the activity. I wanted somebody else to decide the activity. There was an underlying fear of exerting my own opinion, for fear of rejection, for fear of being too vulnerable, not understanding the realm of authenticity. But it looked like me avoiding my own experience by living through other people's experiences. I wasn't playing the character on the TV screen, I was watching somebody else play that character, and I was enjoying it through that perspective. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but it can be taken to an extreme. When it's a pattern that appears throughout our life, when it's a pattern that shows up in our adult relationships, that's when it becomes a problem. In romantic relationships, it looks like completely sacrificing ourselves and living to be part of the coupleship. It looks like prioritizing the other person's needs and the relationship's needs above our own needs. In fact, sometimes not even thinking about our own needs, not even recognizing that that's a part of the equation. It looks like being kind of directionless in other spaces in life, relying on a boss to tell us what to do at our job, relying on our friends to make decisions about what we're doing. And a point I want to make here is that our culture in this United States superimposed colonial reality is designed to foster codependence. This is why so many of us struggle with this experience, let alone the brainwashing we get from pop culture versions of romance on rom-coms. From the time we are very, very, very little children, maybe even babies, we are socially conditioned in this culture to depend upon other things. Of course, as babies and children, we have to depend upon adults to a certain extent, but this culture fosters codependency in a way more intense level than that. We're not taught in schools how to think and make our own decisions. We're taught to listen to teachers, listen to authority figures, do what they say. Don't question your parents, do what they say. Don't question the government, do what the government says. Follow the laws. Don't think about whether or not they make sense, just follow them. That's what the law is. When you get into college, you better not question your professors. They are the experts, you're not. When you get out into the workforce, you better not question your boss. They made their way to the top, you didn't. There's all these subtle ways in our society that disempower us, that take us out of our own authenticity, that take us out of our own powerful decision-making processes, and put that power in somebody else's hands. And this is what the crux of codependency is. It's putting that power in somebody else's hands. To me, in my lived experience, there's an allure of codependency because it feels easier. When I was a kid, it felt easier to watch somebody else play that video game instead of me having to pay the consequences, which in a video game standard, it's pretty minimal, right? But I was afraid of losing the game. I was afraid of not doing a good job. I was afraid of not being able to master the different challenges and the levels that were being presented to me. It was a lot easier to watch my friend fail than it was for me to go through the emotional experience of feeling like I had failed. And again, that's the context of a video game, but can we magnify that to an adult version? Can we think about how that looks in our romantic relationships, in our friendships, in our employment relationships, in our general relationship with the world around us? There's still a compulsion for me. I'm a South Node Libra, so if you know anything about astrology, you know that this is the thing that I'm here to master is codependency. The shadow aspect of Libra is very much codependency, it's fitting into the crowd so much that we fade into the background and we take ourselves out of the equation as a result. And there is an allure there because it feels safe. It feels less risky. It feels like I'm not putting myself up on the chopping block to potentially fail. I'm watching these other people do it, but I'm not having to risk my neck. So there's a release of power. There's a release of responsibility. There's a release of, well, it's not my fault if this whole ship goes down. It's somebody else's fault, but I don't have to take accountability. But that's a dangerous way to operate because it takes us out of our power center. It takes us out of any kind of personal authority we have over what happens. It blocks us from making the choices in our life. And this is what keeps people stuck in toxic codependent relationships. This is what keeps us stuck in toxic codependent patterns. It's letting that responsibility go, saying, well, I can't control it. It's somebody else's fault. I don't know. I can't change the situation. I'm just going along with the flow. I'm just going with the crowd. And it comes at a cost of our future potential. So I want to share this with you to think a little bit more about how codependency might be showing up in your own life. What are some of those areas of your life that you're letting go of responsibility and not showing up to take accountability? Where have you been releasing your authority to other people? maybe it's time to take some of that back. This is a good time for this kind of reflection. We've got a full moon in Libra coming up, a full moon eclipse in Libra coming up. We're activating some themes related to that Libra South Node codependency. When are we losing ourselves to the crowd? When are we going along just for the sake of keeping the peace? And how do we balance that with this Aries energy? How do we balance that with the call from nature to be the leader, to go forth, to blaze our own trail, to not be held back by other people's feelings, other people's perspectives, the different pathways that other people might be going? How do we choose our own unique, authentic path? So there's a lot of opportunity right now to break free from codependency. I would encourage you to catalyze on these energies if you feel resonant with this message. All right, wishing you the best as we enter this eclipse season. Sending my love and talk to you next time.